Hello, this is Marcia Wilson talking about artist books because my friend Susanna Bergtold and I are starting a little group to make a book on the same subject with 10 people. That will be 10 books on the same subject. Today is December 13th, 2016, and our deadline will be the Ides of March. That's around March 15th. 2017. The theme is mirrors, shadows, and mirrors, which can be interpreted any way at all. So far, we have 6 people, and I have no doubt that we'll have 10 by the time, where this project is underway. And I wanted to share some of my techniques. I suggest we use typing paper. This, 8.5 by 11 letter size paper. This is just an example to show you the size. And I always do an edition of 100 copies. It's just what I do. Because suppose you have a nice book, like I have. One of my bestsellers is Grandma's Musical Talent. Forgive the fact this is mirror image, but I'm using Photo Booth on my Mac. That's my camera. And this is which is this edition? I don't know. I have 3 dots here. That must mean this is the 3rd edition. I've gone into 100 copies 3 times. I made this book in 1993 for my 2 granddaughters who were going to visit their other grandmother on the plane. And so I met them at a stopover in New York City, a 15-minute stopover, and gave them each a copy of this book. Not in its present form. This was done by Xerox in 1999, maybe. Anyway, it's about a farting grandmother. At the end of the book, I have my signature, and I say I have 100 copies. This is number 29. And I also have a colophon saying, oh, I don't have a colophon on this book. Oh, I did say what kind of paper it was printed on. Anyway, that's how I did that one. Now, that one was all black and white. Sometimes I have color illustrations. Can you see these pictures? Now, this is to show you that you really need a layout for your book, because I print the illustrations first and the text second. So, like, for example, this is 100 copies of some kind of dog picture. There are 100 silk screens of a dog. So I'll do that, but then I have to figure out which page I'm going to print the text on. Then you feed this into your computer and have the text come on this side somehow. So the way to do it is make a little guide, because if you look here, this is the illustration for page 7, but in actuality it's printed against page 5. So as I said, it's important to make what's called a dummy. See, here's page 4, and the illustration is for page 8. See? I forget what the theme was for this one, but I call it Helga's Doll. It's about a woman who is so fond of her husband that when he dies, she decides to save him by stuffing his body. And here's her dogs are eating his flesh. She has to dispose of things nicely. Anyway, I've done a lot of books. I like to do books. Here's another bestseller of mine. It's called What I Saw in New York City. And it was a day in 1987, I think, when I was going to an art show early in the morning, and I saw these ladies, these working girls, on the street. So I photographed them, and I gave them each some money. And I put their pictures in a little book. And it turned out to be a bestseller. So that's an example of a photograph book. And once again, the paper inside is archival, but the cover paper is not, so it's a little bit brown. I don't like that. This is another photograph book, but I made it a little shorter. I cut off the bottom. It's about the new baby brother. It's about a little baby who's born, and his sister's a little bit jealous because Mommy keeps paying attention to him instead of to her. And then I have my favorite book is my most personal one. It's called My Parents. And I have a picture of my mother and us kids in it. And then on the first page, I usually put a picture of my father with my sister and me on it. And then I use the technique of silkscreen on these pages. And text, and you know, it's kind of fun to do books like this. So at the end you have to remember to put, what did I write? This is the colophon telling how I did it. And then I should have numbers on the page. It must be in the beginning. I must have, here it is, it says this is number 39, and I signed it. We did a bigger format once. Some people like this bigger format. It's a combination book with, I think this, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 artists all made a signature for the book. The problem is nobody wanted to bind it, so all we got was a bunch of signatures and we had to bind it ourselves. This was called Animals, and I never went to the trouble to bind this up, so that's why I like the easier format of 8.5 by 11, folded in half with one staple as a binder. See, on all these I just use one staple because I've read that staples get rusty. One seems to hold them just fine, but to get one staple in, you need a long stapler. So I have this. They have newer ones too, but you get a long arm stapler, it'll fit in. And then you just use a regular staple. I can't think of anything else to tell you except the size of the edition would be up to you. If we're going to have 10 in the group, we're going to trade with each other. So the smallest edition would be 9 to trade with the 9 other people, and you would have none for yourself. So if you want to keep one copy, you have to make an edition of 10. If you make an edition of 20, that's better. And I make an edition of 100 because sometimes my stuff works. Okay, that's all. My name is Marcia Wilson, and I'm on Facebook under Marcia Sandmeyer Wilson. If you want to join the group, just send me a message. Bye.